Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. The next episode of Red Valkyrie is about to start. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of Red Valkyrie. I am your host, Shae Zombie, and I am super lucky to be here with the incredibly talented man who letters every comic that has ever been made, ever, Eric Weathers. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I don't think it's been every comic book, but it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
You're at this point, you're almost there.
I'm almost there, yeah.
So we are here because you have probably one of the coolest takes that I've seen on a comic in a while. You have Battle Brick Road, and rather than say anything else about it, I'm just going to kick it over to you and let you start doing your pitch.
All right, sure. Yeah, Battle Brick Road is, in short, it's Wizard of Oz with guns. We tell the story of Thea Gale, who lost her father when she was very young. He was taken from her, and she's sort of been on a lifelong mission to find him. And after living in this world of dust and Mad Max, a Mad Max lifestyle for most of her life, she gets a message that says, from her dad, "This is Dorothy. I'm here. This is where you can find me. When you get here, follow the yellow brick road." And that sets her off on her quest, on her mission to find her dad. And she falls into this, discovers Oz, this mythical land that she'd heard about growing up that nobody has been able to find for about 10 years. And she finally finds it because of her dad getting her that information. She discovers this whole world that was once a utopia has fallen into dystopia after several years of warfare between the different Watchers and the people therein within this Oz land. So it's a real place. It's just through science and all of that, it's been hidden. Mm-hmm. And she's been lucky enough to get the information on how to get there.
That's awesome. So I'm not gonna lie, when you very first launched this, I went and checked and I was like, oh cool, it's like a neat action. And then I started looking and I was like, is that a Scarecrow? Is that a Tin Man? And I went, is this the Wizard of Oz? And I was like, I should probably read things. I scrolled back up and was like, Wizard of Oz with guns. Yep, I'm dumb.
Yeah.
But that made that made it that much cooler because it was like, holy shit, this is a very interesting take on a like child story.
yeah, thanks. Well, I mean, I think everybody's grown up knowing the Wizard of Oz. I live in Kansas, so it's kind of everywhere here. And if you go travel anywhere and you get, well, where are you coming from? You say Kansas. You always hear like, oh, you're not in Kansas anymore, huh? Where's Toto? You get all that stuff. But, it was just an idea that I had, and I thought it would make a good comic book. So I had a sort of a rough outline of an idea, and I found a good friend of mine who's actually a really great writer. And I said, hey, let's work together. Can you make this into something better than I can? And he did. He turned it around. His name's Zeb Hatfield, and he really turned around a great script. And we've just got a fantastic story here. It's the best art I've ever done. I'm super excited to just get everybody out there to show you, get this out there to show everybody what it's all about.
Well, this is super exciting. So I do have one question straight out the gate because I see that you have a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a t-shirt whore.
Oh.
But I see that it is not available as an add-on, Eric.
So there will be. Okay. you have I feel like it's good to release things in steps on a campaign because it can kind of help move it along. You get those slumps sometimes, and it's a good way to help move it along. That shirt in particular with the red outline, the only way to get that is at the $250 tier, but we are going to have the regular gold yellow logo. That's going to be a t-shirt that's available. I still need to get that approved and uploaded through the Crypto Fashion, because I have my own Crypto Fashion store. So that's going to be up there, and I can tie it into the campaign as well. So that will be an option, in fact.
So as long as
I'm supposed to be doing an update today. I've been a little busy.
Yeah, you've just been hanging out on streams and drawing and doing the things and stuff.
It's been a wild ride these past couple of weeks, that's for sure.
Yeah, you've definitely been a busy man.
Yeah.
So Because we are, for those of you who may not know, we are in a slightly, I would say, time crunch, but not really. I just know that if we had all the time in the world, Eric and I would probably talk for like an hour and a half plus.
Probably so.
Pretty easily.
Yeah.
But we got a hard cut off at 45 minutes. So we got 40 more minutes to go over the amazingness that is Battle Brick Road. So we're going to go right into perks because I want to make sure that we cover everything about this before I start delving into my questions and gushing.
Okay, cool. The perks are pretty straightforward. I guess I'll kick it off saying that everything comes with an 11 by 17 fold out poster of the cover. No trade dress or anything, just the cover artwork itself. And all the stretch goals that are unlocked will be for anybody that backs a book tier. So when I add the t-shirt, when I add the, we're going to have a large format poster as well. You can buy those separately, but you have to get a book to get all the stretch goals. So say that up front. Also, all books come signed by myself and Zeb Hatfield. So
that's awesome.
The creative team, we're both going to be signing the books. I think that adds a little extra value for people, and I think it's pretty cool. So I guess we'll roll through the perks. The first one, I'll start price-wise and not feature-wise. The base buy-in is $25. You get the book, and you get the poster. The book's 52 pages plus. I've already added another page of story, so we will be. It's at least 52 pages, and that's the $25. You know, if you want just the book, no frills, no extras, don't worry about it. That's what you can get. At 50, we add in the supplemental book, and that is a book that will include the original 8-page ashcan that we did back in 2018. It's sort of like a pilot episode of the whole idea of Battle Brick Road, back when it was called Operation Zephyr. We had a name change about a year ago.
Is that why it's Operation Zephyr below it? I get it.
Yeah, so that's the title of the first book, and the second book will have a different title. That's going to be Fall of the Yellow Brick Road, and book 3 is The City of Emeralds, and book 4 is, I believe, just called The Wizard of Oz, but I'm not entirely sure. So,
you're not going to say Man Behind the Curtain or something?
No, that's not a bad idea.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You can have that, Eric.
It could be No Place Like Home. It could be anything like that, right? So, the story itself is not like a one-for-one copy of the movie or the book. We're taking a lot of liberties. It's in the 2060s, 2070s. It's in the future. There's a lot of sci-fi tech. There's a lot of genetically modified creatures and AIs that control the land. So a lot of fun stuff. I guess we'll get into that. Let's go back to the tiers. So that's the 50. You get the book and the supplemental and the poster. At 85, you just get 2 of everything. Pretty straightforward. 2 books. And that's a good way to split with a friend or have an extra copy to read that you don't have to worry about getting damaged. At 100 and 125, there you're going to be able to add a sketch. I will do a sketch card, basically, not like a trading card size, but like a sketch plate, if you will, that will be inserted into the book that you can hang on your wall or just keep in your art stash somewhere. Okay. And then that's with or without the supplemental book. And the 2 big tiers are the super fan tier. That's Battle Brick Road plus the fold out poster plus the supplemental book and the sketch. And you get the t-shirt that you just mentioned. That only, it's the only way you get the red logo. You're going to get your name in the book as a special thanks. And it says full color ashcan on the image, but we're going to swap that out for something a little different because I'm putting the ashcan into the supplemental book. So that'll be like an extra special print or knick-knack or something. I haven't figured that out yet. Maybe a special foil trading card, something special. So
I'm gonna give you my ideas, but yeah.
Yeah, I'll take them. That's for sure. And then at 500 is everything at 250 plus you get drawn into the book as a citizen of Oz. So when Dorothy arrives, she comes upon this village, if you will, this town, and you can be one of those citizens, or maybe even a citizen of the Resistance, a member of the Resistance that's fighting against the Watcher of the East. We'll take all kinds.
But you want to be good or bad.
That's right.
Do not discriminate. I like it.
That's right. Yeah. And then, as I mentioned, all the add-ons that are getting attached. So far, we have 3. We're working towards our 4th. But those are, if you scroll, there you go, you got them there. So a bookmark, 2 trading cards, one of Tia Gale, one of Scarecrow, and then we're going to be throwing in a patch at 35,000.
That was my
So,
idea. But you're gonna do
oh,
the
well,
stretch
there you
goals.
go.
Hey, wait, hold on. Where are we? Where are we? Where are we, people? Okay, we need to get 4,500 more, and that needs to happen in 15 days, and it has to happen, and you don't understand. It has to happen. It has to go on my. So, Eric, if you don't know,
Yeah.
I have bomber jackets that I'm getting made up for myself and for Cyborg. And they've
Nice.
got our channel patch on the back, huge. And they're
Mhm.
going to have our names across the back of them, kind of like a Letterman jacket. But then I'm
Yeah.
taking all of these patches and pins from all of these amazing comics that I've been able to back. And it's going to be like a moto jacket, like
Oh, that's
military style
fantastic.
everywhere, but it's all CG indie stuff.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, we did a patch for Flying Fortress.
I know I
And,
missed it. I was so bummed.
well, you can still get it. We're still in demand.
Oh.
I'm just saying. But we did a patch for Flying Fortress, and after the campaign, we did 2 campaigns. We did the main one, and then we did the follow-up. And after the main campaign, I put out a survey to all backers. I got a pretty good response, but one of the questions was, of all the extra perks that we had posters and patch and bookmark and postcards and all of this stuff. And it was like, which one did you like the most? And the patch was the most popular out of everything. Not by a wide margin, but it had the most votes. So we're going to get a patch for this one. And it's going to tie in. We're either going to do one patch for each Wicked Witch. In our case, they're called Watchers, or one patch for each of the main good guys. So you're going to have I'm leaning towards the Watchers because I like the villainous stuff better.
I'm the same way. Almost
Yeah.
anytime I do one of these interviews and I pick something, when people start showing me like, here are a bunch of my characters, I'm always like, ooh, what's she? Oh, she's the villain. And I'm like, damn it, every time. So every fucking time. The only reason why I didn't pick a villain for you is because you see, the only ones that I could see were the evil monkeys, and I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. No, I think it turned out great. But you get a blue scarf and some freckles, and you're good to go.
She's a redhead, so
Yeah,
I had to represent.
that's right. That's right.
Oh my goodness.
The other,
Oh, go ahead. Go.
I was going to say the other thing that we're really looking forward to. This might, we're creeping up on it. We're creeping up on it slowly, but at 50K, our stretch goal, we're going to have an 8-page Ashcan story drawn by 6 a.m. Comics. A little Toto story that will tie into the main storyline of the book. So I've got him on board. We just need to reach the stretch goal so that I can make sure it happens.
Yes, please. So for your stretch goals, is this continuing on, like, being able to unlock stretch goals when you're in demand, or are you cutting it once you go in demand?
Well, we're gonna do something a little different this time around. I'm not letting the cat out of the bag yet, but we're gonna play the 30 and 30 game. So we're gonna let it count down, and then we are gonna extend for another 30 days after the initial campaign.
Thank goodness.
But we have
my pocketbook sucks. Sorry.
we have alternate plans for an in-demand phase, and that's all I'm gonna say right now. But it's not that it hasn't been done before, but I don't think anybody's planned their campaign around it from the start.
Well, now, damn it, Eric.
I can't. Shh.
Okay, but when you can talk about it, you're coming back, right? Yes.
Absolutely, sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. That's
I mean, once it happens, you'll understand it. We're like, oh, I see what he's doing here. So
I will, and then I'm going to bring you back on and be like, Eric, I thought we were friends. I thought you could tell me things. You didn't tell me this.
No, we're keeping this one under wraps. Just to, yeah.
It's okay.
We've got something cool planned though.
I do not doubt that for 1 second. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is kind of like your crew photo that you got right here, right? So
right, yeah.
Toto being the little, like, I don't know what to call him, like a little
a badass beach ball.
Yes.
Yeah,
dish.
That's him. Yeah, satellite dish. He can get you some direct TV. Yeah, Toto was one of the first characters that I knew exactly. He was the first character that I knew exactly what I wanted to do with him. Like, when in my initial idea, maybe his design was different, but I always knew from the start that Toto wasn't going to be a dog in any, canine sense.
Right.
He is a drone. He is basically a droid, but we can't say droid in the book. But he was created by Howard Gale, Dorothy's father, and he is our little R2D2. He's going to be um, a little Swiss Army knife, and after Howard is taken. Toto sort of is always there as Dorothy's pal and Dorothy's companion. So there's a relationship there. They've been around for, he's been her protector, and it's sort of like a loving pet relationship sort of thing. But
Right.
he's very resourceful, and I think that over the course of this is a 4-book thing we're doing. This is the first of 4. Over the course of this entire series or entire storyline, I really think he's going to be one of the best characters that we've done. And you're never going to hear him speak. He's going to talk like R2D2. It's going to be whistles and beeps and stuff. But it's one of those languages that she can understand. But and it's fun to write that way because you as the reader can kind of understand what he's saying, but you can also interject with your own.
Yeah,
just based off of their responses. Yeah. So if you want him to be a salty sailor, then you go for it. But if not, but just based off of their people's responses and stuff around him, you'll be able to get what he's going for. And
I actually think that it's kind of genius, and it's a little bit of an underutilized character trope to have, because one of my favorite things in Star Wars is when you have like Han Solo who's getting in an argument with either Chewie or R2.
Yeah.
And anytime it happens, like one of them's like, whoa, it's like, that was uncalled for. And you're just like, but wait, what did he say? But now I want to know.
Yeah, it's great though, and there's no subtitles even. You can't even it's all in your head. It's left it up to the reader, and I really like being able to do that. It's a lot of fun.
And it's because you never know what somebody else is going to plug into that, and so for other people, like it becomes whatever they would find probably the most like humorous for that moment, or maybe the most heartfelt, depending on the mood. And I don't want to say it makes it easy for you as a writer, because you have to make a character that never speaks incredibly endearing first. And then after you make it incredibly endearing, then it becomes easier, because you're like, beep beep boop, and people are like, oh, that was so sweet.
And then part of that also plays into his design choice. So like he has these wings or whatever off the side of him that sort of float off the side of him, and that's going to be his way not only to, let's just say, send lead down range, but it's also his way to emote. So they're gonna act as though like a dog's ears will go back if they're scared, or they'll go up if they're surprised. So you're going to see him, hopefully you'll see him emote that way, and you might be able to understand his mood, in the context of the scene. So it's a whole lot of fun. He's really going to be one of my favorite characters. I love them all, but him and Scarecrow are standouts for me.
So I will say this, like, okay, the obvious choice was to be Thea, right? Because redhead makes sense. Obvious choice. However, very close second, very, very close second was Scarecrow, because I was staring at it and I was like, dude. So, I mean, he's a terrifying challenge, but that may end up happening the next time we have you on, simply because like he's badass. Look at him. Look at this dude. He's so
he's pretty cool.
It reminds me a lot of the Scarecrow character that they had in the Arkham games, where his, like, just the way that they made his mask and his face, and I was like, that is the most terrifying thing I think I've seen. Yeah,
so it was definitely, you go and you look up Scarecrow reference, and obviously I want it to be visually like, this is the Scarecrow, because you can look at this image right here and be like, wait a second, okay, that guy's kind of beastie. Okay, there's a redhead, that guy looks like he's wearing hay and there's a
Yeah.
robot. And you're like, okay, wait, is that the Wizard of Oz? Oh,
That's
Emerald City in the
exactly.
background, Yellow Brick Road.
Mhm.
So, that's the idea is to
This is the one that made me have to scroll back up and go, is this really the Wizard of Oz told totally differently? And I was like, I'm so dumb. Like, it was very obvious. And I just, this is what got me there.
That's great. I mean, and that's what we want. We want you to be able to look at it both ways to say, oh, it's Wizard of Oz. That's interesting. And, oh, this just looks cool. It looks like a cool, future military kind of book. And, that's the kind of stuff that I like. So that's the kind of stuff I make. But, yeah, and maybe we can draw in more people just out of curiosity of like, what's this going to be like? It's Wizard of Oz, but she's carrying an FN Scar, and that guy's got a sniper rifle, and what's going on here? So, it looks like stuff's about to blow up. So yeah.
Looking at this, because I can see a lot of stuff that is reminiscent to me of other things throughout pop culture that I've kind of seen. Like the way that you have Toto kind of reminds me of, oh shit, what's that game? Nope. I had it for half a second and it disappeared. But there was a game that Borderlands. There we go.
Borderlands. Oh, like Claptrap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because the way that Claptrap emotes, aside from the fact that he does actually speak, but his little like eye and his little flaps and all of that adds into his character. That's what makes him so funny.
Right.
And also when there's a couple of moments where you're like, oh no, Claptrap, no. And like, it's just really sad. Like there were moments where I legit was like, I'm going to cry over a robot that is alive.
No, and that's a great thing for me to just take a note on, because I've played Borderlands, but I hadn't thought about, as an artist, you're always looking elsewhere for inspiration or ideas or reference or whatever. So I'm gonna have to take a look at Claptrap.
Yeah, so he'd be a good one, but like that's kind of one thing that reminds me of Toto. And then your Tin Man that you have back there, I can't remember. There is a game that has a similar looking style, kind of to that, but like everything in here, like I said, the Scarecrow reminds me of the Arkham games. You've got like your beastie dude here, which reminds me of a lot of the different kind of more like beastie characters throughout comics.
Yeah.
What were your actual inspirations as opposed to everything that just pops into my head when I see this?
Well, I mean, you're on point a bit with some of those. So let's see. Dorothy was actually pretty straightforward. I did look for reference. There's a bit of a Laura Croft. There's a bit of a Jill Valentine Resident Evil 1 influence in her earlier designs.
Oh yeah, especially when she's in this beret.
Yeah, exactly.
Really,
yeah, that, and then there's what's her name from G.I. Joe?
Nope.
I can't think of her name. It's escaping me. But yeah. Anyways, it's not Baron. It's something else. I can't. Anyways, so a lot of just female characters like that for Dorothy. Like I said, Toto was pretty straightforward. He was like a drone that we're used to seeing at first, and I thought, no, let's make it a little bit more interesting. Make him an actual character than just an object or a device.
Yeah.
With Scarecrow, it was pretty straightforward in terms of the idea, because I just thought, well, he's going to be a sniper or a guy in a ghillie suit. Just that kind of makes sense of him being this Scarecrow character, just because those things kind of align.
Right.
A guy made of straw and a guy that wears straw to hide in the hills. And then Tin Man was ultimately just there wasn't a whole lot of reference in terms of overall design, but his legs, I thought I wanted them to have that canine look at the same time, but have that futuristic look. So those Boston Dynamics robots that you've seen, they'll have that dog that can like climb rocky terrain or whatever, and they have these really very skinny legs with these rubber ends on them so they can have a grip. And I just thought it was a great look. It has that sort of prosthetic, runners that have prosthetic legs. They have that spring. Yeah.
Those things are insane.
Yeah. And then for Lion, actually his design's a lot different than what you see here. At first he was just a big heavy guy that could carry a big gun, and then I made him a little bit more feral and then now he's sort of this. He is a genetic creation of the Watcher of the West, and so he's much more ugly and mutated and sort of like half human, half lion in the more current design of him. But he and Tin Man don't show up until book 2. So the main focus right now is on Dorothy and Scarecrow and Toto.
Nice. I like, so you're even kind of progressing through like it does in the actual like movie where she's coming across them at different points.
Yeah, so she is going to find them as maybe you do, as she does in the book, but to say that it's a one for one, just taking this and just adding our thing on top of it, I think isn't as accurate as it. That's not an accurate way of putting it. So we're, Zeb, the writer, has really just he listened, like he does contract work, so he's like painting a house, and he said he would just listen to the book on repeat. He'd listen to it a dozen times, and took notes, and there were like 7 revisions to the script before we nailed everything down, and we've really dialed it in and made it our own. There are things in here that you're not going to expect, which is what we really want. We want somebody that knows the Wizard of Oz to maybe not even realize they're reading a Wizard of Oz book. I mean, it opens with a car chase for crying out loud. So it's nothing like that in the Wizard of Oz.
Well, and so here's another thing that I think a lot of people need to kind of remember. There's a difference between something being inspired by and something being a ripoff of.
Right.
And so the fact that, because what you guys have done is you said, the Wizard of Oz it's a really interesting story, and it always has been. Like growing up, everybody knew about the Wizard of Oz. Everybody watched the movie. Everybody saw cartoons and had storybooks, and it was kind of like a child's first step into grander storytelling that had a whole bunch of characters, that had a whole lot of like moral quandaries going through it that you're coming across at like 7. It was like, what do you do if you don't feel like you have enough courage? And it's like, well, you dig down deep, and you're like, oh shit. Oh, I could just do that? I thought but the dude had to give it to me. And it's like, no,
I mean, there are themes in the Wizard of Oz that I think they're just truth. Courage is something that you have inside you, and you can think for yourself, and you can have a heart. You can be a strong human being, and those are important. And these are things that we are also trying to convey in our version of the story, but it's not the same. We don't have a dumb, walking pile of hay that is going to sing and dance. He's got his past. Zeb has really fleshed these characters out very, very well. They all have. You're meeting them at a point in their lives in this story where you, once you just the moment you meet them, the idea is that what we're trying to pull off is that these guys have been around for a while. And, I think a good story can put you in the middle of somebody's life, and you can understand, like, there's a bigger picture about them.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to convey with these characters. As much as it is to say, it's this badass Wizard of Oz with guns, there's a lot of heart in this story. There's a lot of character development. Zeb's really done a great job, and now it's up to me to make it a reality on the page. So,
well, and one of the things that I think I was that I'm kind of noticing the more I look at it is when it comes to the original story is like super diluted as far as character development to make it accessible and digestible for small children. There's clear lines between good and bad, right? You literally have Glenda the Good Witch, and you have the evil, like the Wicked Witch of the West. Like that, they literally made 2 separate characters to show.
And they're literally black and white, like
exactly
the opposite of each other. Yeah,
exactly. And so they dumbed it down for children to be able to digest, and as a result, they got kids thinking. Because I remember thinking one of the things that I ended up taking away at a very young age is that home is where you make it. Home is wherever you put your heart and your value. And I got that at like 8 because of the way that they addressed everything, and because there wasn't a whole lot of other stuff to muddle the waters. But what you've basically done is taken the Wizard of Oz, made it sci-fi, fleshed out these characters, made them more relatable for adults,
Mhm.
and made them far less one-dimensional, giving them a lot more spirit.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I like that. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea, is to not just tell a kid's book, not just tell a, which, I mean, if you read the book, it's not just I mean, it's written for children, but it's
Right.
deeper than that. There are deeper themes that run through it. But with ours, obviously we want to have this multi-layered approach where you can just read it for the surface level and just have a good time with it. But if you kind of dig a little deeper, hopefully there's something there that you'll find that is a little deeper than just the panel to panel storytelling that we're going with.
Right. Well, and like the way that you said that all of this is starting is basically her trying to find her father.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that already, like, the motivation behind it versus what happened in the original is
Yeah.
entirely different. Just not even close to the same.
Right. Yeah. She's like, I just want to get out of here. I don't like
Like,
this place. Yeah.
literally in the main book, she just wakes up and she's like, where the hell am I? I don't
Yeah.
want to be here. I want to go home. And in this one,
Yeah.
she's like, no, I dove into this because I'm trying
Yeah.
to find someone.
She's actively trying to get to Oz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that, I think that right there, that already makes such a huge delineation from what the original story is and what you guys are trying to do.
Yeah. Thanks. Thank you.
No, I'm super excited. I had to go back through because I was like, I swear I backed this, and I went back through all my contributions. I was like, motherfucker. So I'm it's on my list. I got like 3, and all 3 y'all that I've got on my list, I'm backing at a higher level, and my paycheck is not
Oh no, that's all right. Yeah, you back when you can.
I'm going. Just let me know before you bring it out of demand, okay?
I will.
Oh my goodness. So, I had so many questions, but now I'm just kind of drooling because it's really pretty.
Thank you.
This is really, really, so because everybody knows you as the guy who letters.
Yeah. It's nice to be like, oh, by the way.
Oh, hey, I also do this. So are you
Yeah.
doing the color work as well? Are you doing like literally all of it, or?
No. I don't have enough in me to do all of it. I can color. I don't like to do it. It's funny that, like, I did all of Flying Fortress. I'd say 90% of the work on that by myself. I had one of the co-creators help with inking a handful of pages in the first 4 books, the first 4 chapters. But 5 through 8 was 80 pages or 80 to 100 pages of just me doing everything from layouts all the way to pre-press and everything in between. So I know how to color. And after Flying Fortress, I actually learned how to paint. Because it's one of those things I never did. All in art school and all that as a kid, and in high school and all that, it was like, I'm gonna draw comic books. So that's all I did. And I might have learned watercolor or something, but I picked up, well, at least the digital paintbrush, and really started. It kind of clicked with me. And my wife's like, "Why did you stop painting?" I'm like, "Don't judge me." But given the workload, obviously my lettering stuff is sort of the day job. So
right.
And thinking about penciling, inking, coloring, and lettering, it's like, I already know what that takes, and I know I don't have that time. So Farah is coloring the book, and she is phenomenal.
So I need to get this chick on a stream, because I've heard her name about 3 or 4 times, and she is like probably one of the hardest working females that nobody knows about unless you have managed to snag her for a project, and all of her work is gorgeous.
She is really good. I sent her, I heard about her from Scott from Door Kickers and Peregrine, and I said, he was like, hey, why don't you give her a shot, send her a test page, just see if she'll work. And at the time, I had just the Ashcan stuff done, and I sent her one of the pages from the Ashcan. But with this book, there's a specific style we're going for. It's just pencils and colors. We're not inking. So that's another thing that's going to help me get the book out faster as well. It's one more step that I'm not taking. And it wasn't just a choice of like, I just don't want to ink, so it's faster. It's an art style that I liked a lot. Lionel Yu did it back in the day a lot. He doesn't do it as much nowadays, but he did it like an Ultimate Hulk versus Wolverine was that. Joe Mad's stuff from about, I guess, 5 or 8 years ago with his Avenging Spider-Man and his Savage Wolverine and Ultimates 3. All of that stuff was just pencils with some fantastic colors over the top of it. And there are other examples, but I've always liked that look. It's like there's enough of a difference in value from the it's not just turning the pencils into inks.
Right.
We're keeping that pencil look.
Right.
We're putting the colors over it.
Well,
and
and
I really
I
like
think
that.
that it keeps it organic and gives it a little bit more personality. That's actually something that if you've ever seen S.E. Tonks and any of his stuff, he'll do like super sketchy kind of whatever, and then he normally does like his latest thing right now is watercolor over his stuff, but his watercolor is very precise, so you don't really realize it's watercolor until you start really paying attention to brush stroke, and then you'll see just a tiny hint and you're like, oh shit, oh okay, that is watercolor. But it doesn't look that way right out the gate, but it does really it adds so much character because you get to see those and as long as the pencils are solid, then they stand up on their own. Like you don't have to go over and ink everything. Like it's very clear what everything is.
Yeah, I've had people flip through my portfolio and everybody's like, man, your pencils are really tight. You've got really tight pencils. Why do you pencil this? I'm like, I don't know. I just, I grew up copying comic books, and I was copying because everything was inked back in the day, and I guess I didn't. I mean, I knew there were inkers. It just didn't click that it was an inker. And I was just copying Jim Lee, and I was trying to make it perfect. I was copying, whoever, and just trying to make it look like they did it.
Right.
And it just became just sort of how I liked. I mean, I have inked in the past. I don't particularly enjoy it. But I'm not against it. It's just for this book and this look and this thing I've always wanted to do. It felt like this is the right project for it.
I think that, so what it is for me is you've got when you do superhero books, heavy inks is kind of iconic for superhero books. When you're delineating from that line, being able to kind of branch out in the style, I think is refreshing. And so the fact that you're taking essentially a storybook and you're making a more badass version of that same kind of storybook. And you're still kind of keeping a little bit of that whimsy by keeping it penciled instead of heavy inked, which I think is going to make it's just going to add a lot to it, especially when you start telling the story.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is the less you go over your work, the more energy you keep. I mean, there are some artists out there that just keep the energy from start to finish. And it's something it's very hard for me to do that. So if I can cut out that step of the inks and make my pencils a little bit more raw, a little bit more energetic, it's just not something that was ever easy for me to do once I got into the inking stage. So I think overall, I mean, it's just going to be I think a better book for it because of just the vision I have of what it's going to look like. And I know that Farah is going to knock it out of the park with colors. She's already proved it on the cover and on that first page. And I'm excited. I really am.
I'm super stoked for this. I've been excited since I saw it launch. And I just, I'm 1,000. I'm not missing this one. If I miss this one, I'm going to punch somebody and take theirs. Like
just
I'm not
punch
missing
me.
it. I'm going to not get my book.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. We don't want to do that.
Yeah. See, you have a bargaining chip. You're not the one I can punch. So
plus, if you take me out, there's a lot of books that don't get lettered, and a whole house of cards come crashing down.
I'm not trying to have every single person in CG want my head on a pike. I'm good. I'm just trying to make friends here. I'm not trying to make enemies. We did have a question from Justin.
Sure.
Do you know where you would go to get patches made? I've got the place that I went to, and I've kind of priced them, but I haven't compared them with a bunch of other people yet.
I went to patchesforless.com, patches and the number 4 less.com. That's what I did for the Flying Fortress patch. You got to understand, patches are not as cheap as you might expect. You can get 1,000 prints and they turn out to be like 6 cents a piece for full color 11 by 17 prints or even bigger. And patches, you're like, oh, okay, that, maybe they're like 10 cents, 15 cents a piece. No, it gets
like $3.
And depending on bulk. Yeah. With patches for less, I think mine turned out to be 60 cents a piece. I ordered 1,000 and it was just black. But if you start adding other thread colors and all of that, that's when the price can go up to $2 or $3 a piece. So
yeah. Well, and
yeah.
like like I was saying with our channel logo, we've got, because I priced it if I went with a 5-inch patch or a 3-inch patch. And I was like, how much would they be if I got like 50 of them?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at almost, it's like $2.65 or something. But for ours, it would have the gradient background. It would have the gradient Red Valkyrie lettering, and it would have silver stitch on the sword. And I was like, huh, well, I'd have to sell them for a decent amount for that to be worth it.
Yeah, that's the thing about crowdfunding, is you're able to add it as a stretch goal, so that those things are part of the whole bit of the funds that come in. That just help. Every little bit helps for making something a little better or adding on extra things like patches and posters and whatnot.
Yeah, no, and I'm a swag junkie, so t-shirts, patches, and pins, those are my bread and butter. Those are the things that I probably love the most. Like cards, wonderful, great. I don't have a place to keep them. Like I'm actually at this point, I have so many cards that have just come as stretch goals that I now have to go and get like a trading card binder.
You got to get it. Yeah, you got to get the pages.
Yeah, and the, when I think about it, I'm like, well, how often am I actually going to kind of look at those and enjoy them? And it's not going to be nearly as much as a patch. But also, if we're going to talk about cost and overhead, if you're looking at it like that, okay, yeah, give me a trading card if you can't afford anything, because that's like you said, like 6 cents versus like $1 for everything.
Exactly. I mean, my trading cards they were like just a few cents a piece, and I don't know where they're at, but it's just one of those things. And if you grew up as like I did, I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, and my comic books were the cards. It was my friends and I just trading. Oh, I want that Spider-Man because that'll complete this page of 9. Because a lot of them would be one piece of artwork, and you'd have to get all 9 of them in order to have the whole thing. Yeah. So I just think it's cool. Obviously, they're not for everybody, but nothing's ever for everybody.
No, you're never going to please everyone.
Yeah. Like the last campaign, we had postcards. Nobody's done postcards before. That was a lot of fun. So
yeah, that's actually something that I do for artists and stuff when they're going to cons, is printing up on postcards, because they end up selling better than prints half the time, because when you have somebody who's either, I don't want to carry around a giant print for the entire con, or I don't have room to hang it, and I don't want to, have it just sit off in the corner and get damaged. Postcards are phenomenal, because people are like, oh, I can put a postcard up somewhere. Like, that's small, that's easy.
Yep. You can set that on your, pin it to your cubicle at work, or have it up on your desk, or, hang them from the little string with the little clothespins, and, a lot of fun stuff. Actually, I've had people say, I've got your row of I had a bunch of pinup girls because they were bombers. So and their art from Kelsey Shannon, John Malin, Elliot Fernandez, Kyung Lee, Matt Weldon, and Billy Tucci. That was the Flying Fortress campaign. Still in demand on Indiegogo.
Damn it. You know what, Eric? You're just trying to make me go broke, because you said pinup girls, and that's okay, hold on. Just to give you context, you said pinup girls. This is my Chromebook. It's all pinup girls.
Oh, well, you're going to love these. Some of these are very classy, and some of them are very John Malin-y. So I'll just show. I can give you an extra 5 minutes here, but that's Billy Tucci did that.
Oh, love it.
What we got here? That's Lilith from Graveyard Shift.
Yeah, it is.
John Malin did. It's called Lethal Lilith. I got a bit of a glare.
No, you're good.
Camera. Let me turn that down. And you've got Matt Weldon's Darling Dorothy. So this is sort of was a little tie-in to Wizard of Oz, Dorothy Gale, red hair and all that. So, and what do we got here? That's Battle Maiden Knuckle Bomb as a World War II bomber.
Holy shit, this is so cool.
And Thunderstruck, that's Elliot Fernandez. And then Kelsey Shannon did Lady Luck. And they all did their own versions. I said, if you have a character that's your own that you want to use, so you could, use that piece for something else, go for it. So Kyung Lee and John Malin did, but everybody else just sort of, well, for lack of a better term, generic, or I guess classic pinup girls.
I love it.
So yeah, 4x6 postcards, and they're thick, so that you don't have to worry about them getting all bent and torn up and stuff. So,
damn it, I have to get that. Damn it,
you got to. I'm sorry.
Go back all of Eric's projects.
Yes, that's the right thing to do. That's the right thing to
I'm
do.
just gonna start working more weekends. It'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Well, I know that you do not have a ton of time, and we're actually just about at the end of ours. We are 1,000% getting you back on when
Sure.
hopefully you have a little bit more time.
Yes.
And
If there are any questions that you other ones you have are from the chat or whatever, I haven't been peeking in, so I can stick around for another 5 minutes or so.
Okay, so you hear
yeah.
that? You got 5 minutes if you want questions answered. So post them quick. Level 7 says, "How do you keep your skin so smooth in quarantine?"
Staying indoors. A lot of indoors staying. You know, stay out of the harsh, evil sunlight.
Yeah.
That's pretty much been my whole life. So
I 1,000% feel that pain. So I don't know about you, Eric, but I don't tan. I go lobster and then peel back to this. So
we have the same skin, and I'm leaving on Tuesday to go on vacation in Galveston, and I know that this is just. I don't like the beach because it's just sun and death to me. So I'm a guy. I'd rather go climbing a mountain or going through a cave or something.
Yes.
But the family's going, and you know, my wife's never seen the coast, any coast. So I was like, okay, we'll go to the beach this year, and next year. Well, I guess next year we'll see another beach because there's going to be, you know, the Comic Skate Con. So
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
See, and that's the other thing is I want my jacket to be like at least have some good progress as far as going on.
Yeah.
So when I show
up, you know what? it's a great time frame for me too, because my schedule of the lettering. This 2 weeks, I launched the campaign May 8th, and then it was like, oh hey, do you have time to letter these 6 books, and then parts of these 2 other books? Oh, and by the way, here's a new one today. That's just sort of how things go, and so.
I know, because I've tried to pick your brain for lettering advice, and I'm like, you're just too busy.
Yeah, I mean, if you have questions on lettering, I'll try to answer them. But
you do very good. I feel bad asking. That's
oh no, it's normally it's an easy answer because I know the answers. I don't have to I don't know how do I so
you don't gotta search for it. You're like, oh yeah,
right.
This is why that's shit. Your kerning is terrible. And you're like, okay, I'll work on kerning and come back later. So we did have Blue Samurai wanted to know, do you have any other titles in the works? Any follow up to Flying Fortress or other stuff?
Yes, there's always irons in the fire. So I've been doing work on a book it's tentatively titled Savage Wilds, and that is going to be, this is me saying, okay, I'll paint again. So this is going to be a sort of a children's, I wouldn't say a children's book, but it's a, what do they call it? A Secret of Nim meets Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
A very fantasy driven book, but it's all forest animals and like armor and fun stuff like that. And then after that, there's sequels to Battle Brick Road. Maybe in the distant future, there's a sequel to Flying Fortress. I do have a treatment plotted out for a book 2 and a book 3.
Okay.
But Battle Brick Road is high on the priority list. And then, without saying too much, Vaughn and I are working on something as well.
Oh, I'm streaming with Vaughn after this. You know I'm gonna grill him now. Hey Vaughn, Eric said that you guys are working on something.
If he gives it away, that's it. It's the end of the relationship. So that's it. I'm gonna have to cut him off. No, it's really cool. It's so badass.
Of course it is, because I love you and what you do. I love Vaughn and what he does, and the two of you together just sounds a little bit insanity.
Well, hey, awesome. if you like the sound of that, you should check us out every weekday morning when we do a YouTube show together.
Okay, what time?
About between 9:30 and 10 is when we start Central. 9:30 and 10 Central.
There you go.
On my channel, it's youtube.com/Eric Weathers.
Sweet. I will add Eric's YouTube after we end this, so you guys can go and make sure that you're subbed to him. But yeah, this is a really awesome book, and I'm super, super stoked. And of course, now that we're having to end, everyone's coming over because I guess Ethan just stopped streaming. So
Well, okay, let's
It happens.
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
I gotta start cooking dinner. That's all.
Okay, if you have questions, this is Eric giving us his second 5 more minutes. So post your questions now, or you're never getting them answered. That's not true.
Ever again. Yeah.
He's out of spite.
Yes, that's a good way. Spite goes a long ways these days.
Ted Lehman wants to know: is there a scar
tier? I think
tier?
yeah, I think it's supposed to be like perk. No, that's a good idea. Although I don't think I can hand out firearms as I think firearms are against Indiegogo's content policy. So sorry, Ted.
Yeah,
Scar is the rifle that she is using in the. That's the type of rifle she has in the artwork.
I'm trying to. Nope, I'm not going to do it to myself. No, that's way too much. I was going to say prop, but I'm not. I refuse.
Okay.
So if I get to a point where I can actually do decent props, then maybe for book 2, you and I will talk about a very limited tier of a cosplay prop of Scar.
Okay.
But I gotta make sure I can actually deliver, because I'm looking at it. That's intense.
Well, I'll tell you what. You can buy an airsoft Scar for like $50, and then you can make it customized to what hers is going to look like in the book.
That's true. We'll talk.
So
you and I will talk. How's that sound?
We'll talk.
I like this. We're going to collaborate. See, this is the thing, is I started doing stuff like I did the hat, right, for God's Hand.
Yeah.
And then we ended up making that a tier, limited edition, only one that will ever be made.
Right.
Kind of thing.
That's cool.
And then, and I did the same thing for Perfect 10, offering a cyborg arm if he ended up funding, and then instantly went, whew, that's gonna suck. But definitely help Perfect 10 get to funding, because I should be challenged, and I have until October to figure out how to make it really nice. But
yeah,
I want to, it will be, but I already have a pretty decent idea how to do it. So it's something that I definitely want to start doing for more of these campaigns, is being able to kind of bring some of the cosplay element that I do, because a lot of the time I make stuff for these campaigns and then I don't have room to store them.
Yeah. You start doing prompts and stuff, that's going to take up a lot of space real quick.
Yeah, and my office is insanely tiny. So
I can relate.
I think we have another question I missed. There we go. What was the impetus for Battle Brick Road?
Well, it was just I had mentioned that I was painting. I was trying to do concept art, and this was an idea for making a portfolio piece that I could just shop around to game studios and say, "Hey, look what I can do." And so I was just building this as a concept art portfolio. And like right as I started, I thought this would make a better comic book. So that's where I came up with the idea, was this, making it as, what if it were a video game? What would this look like? And then that very quickly turned into, now there's a bigger story here that I could tell that I think would be a whole lot more fun. So 2.5 years ago, when I was doing that, that's sort of where the spark started. And then a few months after writing that pitch down, or that idea down, that's when I shopped it to Zeb, and he said, "Yeah, let's do it. This sounds awesome."
That's really cool. Oh, all right. Well, I am not going to keep you any longer. I know that you and your family would probably like food. So
I'm the grill master. I got to go fire it up here soon. So
well, I do want to say thank you so much for coming out, Eric. You are super awesome. Very much appreciate you making time.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like seriously, anytime. More than happy to get you on this channel for sure. Cool. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You guys are super stellar and amazing. I appreciate all of you coming out. I'm sorry that so many of you got here late. Definitely go back, watch the replay. We had some really good information and hearing a lot about Battle Brick Road and the inspiration behind it. And if you haven't already backed it, I really, really need you to go and back Battle Brick Road. And
me too.
We need, look, I need a patch. All right, guys. This is where we're at. I need the damn patch. So I'm going to need y'all to back it. $4,500 more minimum.
Yeah. Do it for Shae.
Do it for Shae.
Do it for Shae.
That's 1,000% what I'm going to say. Do it for Shae, damn it. But do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie if you haven't already. And just thank you all so much for coming out. You guys are amazing. And we will definitely catch you next time. See you later.
Bye.